Hello, I am Chappie. You are here for a review of Tom Richardson's movie review of Chappie. This is the new Neill Blomkamp feature about Chappie. But enough about Chappie. You want Tom Richardson to review the film Chappie by Neill Blomkamp, so you don't have to hear more of Chappie.
So hey guys, that was my Sharlto Copley impression of his voice for Chappie in the new Neill Blomkamp film Chappie. So in Chappie, you guys, hopefully I want to say that multiple more times in this review, but I'm afraid I'm going to have to. Um, Chappie is a film about a robot who's normally used for the police department. In the future, things get really out of hand as far as crime goes, so they make these police droid machines, kind of like what was happening in the first act of the movie RoboCop. They make these machines so that way all these police officers don't have to die in these really severe crimes that are going down in these big cities. And so these robots are able to basically do what we wish human police officers could do more so of. And so what happens is every once in a while a droid or one of these robots will malfunction, or they'll go bad, or something will just happen to them on duty that will require them to be worked on with maintenance in the police department. And so there's a programmer in this company that makes these robots, who wishes to make a robot of these kind that will basically have a soul. It will basically feel like a human being. It will interact like a human being. It will grow up like a human being. Basically, there's everything human about it except for the fact that it's a robot. And so the character that eventually becomes Chappie in the movie is basically gets into the wrong hands. There's these, like, I'll try to keep this as spoiler free as I can, but this portion I'm about to tell you is not really a spoiler, just because they show it in the trailer, and it's basically a part of the main plot. These two criminals, or there's more criminals, but there's two of them that basically raise Chappie at this point. Um, that teach him how to be human, and they have their own agenda as to why they want Chappie. And so basically, throughout the course of the movie, it's about this robot who is trying to figure out, who he is and why he was chosen to, have this soul, kind of like a human being. And things get out of control. And so the more Chappie learns about society and, wants to be able to have his own control over things, that's when things really get out of hands, especially when people really start to worry that Chappie can turn into something that it could be a huge threat to the human race, basically. So overall, guys, I thought Chappie was a pretty good movie. For those who really like Neill Blomkamp, like District 9 or Elysium, which is what he worked on previously, I wouldn't say, because out of those two films, I just saw District 9. I did not see Elysium, so I really can't tell you how this film was compared to Elysium. But as far as this film compared to District 9, I personally like District 9 better. I thought District 9 was just a better film with a better script, with better characters, with just a better visual effort. Chappie has a lot of those things, but it doesn't quite do those things as well as District 9 did when Neill Blomkamp worked on that. And believe it or not, both those films starred Sharlto Copley, and I believe Sharlto Copley was also in Elysium, but don't count me on that because I didn't see Elysium. But like I said, Chappie's a good film. I'm kind of shocked that it's getting as much bad rep as it is. It really is not a bad movie. It has some great visuals. Obviously I'll probably go into this more so here in a minute here with my positives, but it's a very nice visual looking movie, and it just has a lot of interesting things to say about artificial intelligence. It's not completely original exactly, but it's a fun time. So if you like Neill Blomkamp, this might be worth checking out. But for my positives and negatives of Chappie, my first positive is that I really liked how Neill Blomkamp managed to make Chappie look and feel like an infant throughout the course of the movie. Like I was saying earlier, Chappie's lifestyle and the way he grows as a character is very much like a human being. He'll start off as a baby, he'll start off figuring out what things are, and eventually become his own person. And I like how the film really made that clear, that this robot starts out as an infant when he's first programmed to start up. It really does feel like you can put this guy in diapers and teach him things, how to eat things and drink stuff, and teach him what a watch is, teach him what a book is, and teach him all these things that us as human beings learn how things are and things like that. And then that goes to my point that I brought up from earlier. This film really does have some great visual effects. There's a lot of moments in this movie where I was just kind of thinking to myself, thinking, how do they do that? How did they use a green screen person? Did they cover somebody in a green screen? There's just a lot of moments in this movie that really feel like pretty strong visual effects for the most part. I liked Hugh Jackman's villainous role in this movie. That really isn't much of a spoiler because he does come out very much as a villainous character in this movie. Also, his motivation is pretty clear and pretty reasonable. You're not really supposed to agree with the guy, but I really liked how Neill Blomkamp made it pretty loud and clear as to what exactly this guy's motivation was. You'll find out throughout the movie that what exactly he was working on in this company. Just a very good villainous role from Hugh Jackman. Hans Zimmer's musical score is once again very good. This man always impresses me with his musical scores. So if you love Hans Zimmer like I do, I love all the stuff he's done with Christopher Nolan and all these other big name directors. Hans Zimmer has given Neill Blomkamp another really great musical score. So for those who love Hans Zimmer, another great musical score from him here. I like how Chappie really learns how life works throughout the course of the movie, and it keeps that pretty consistent throughout the course of the film. It's just, I like how Chappie really learned how things work and, became his own person, just like us people do. And after a while, you kind of forget that you're watching a robot at sometimes. It's because this character does really feel and act like a human being would at a certain point. But like I said, I like how this robot really grew up like a human being, and it's over just a course of a few days. And once again, huge thumbs up to Neill Blomkamp for really making this character feel like he's growing up and we're growing up with him. So it's kind of like the boyhood of artificial intelligence, if you can imagine such a film. For my negatives of Chappie, this film does have a pretty inconsistent tone, though. There's a lot of times in this movie where I felt like I was watching 3 or 4 different movies. At one point, it feels like RoboCop, and another point, it feels like Short Circuit, and another point, it feels like The Matrix. And even at certain times, it feels like the film Transcendence, for those who saw that by Wally Pfister. Just a very inconsistent toned movie. I really feel like they tried to do 3 or 4 different kind of executions they could have done with this kind of storyline. Like I said, really good movie. Good movie, not a great movie, but the tone I think really could have been more consistent than what they went with. Another negative I have with the movie is it does borrow too many elements from other films. It really does borrow a lot from RoboCop. It does borrow a lot from Short Circuit. It just really borrows from all this other stuff to the point where it doesn't really feel like it's its own film anymore. The ending of this film does feel pretty poor and pretty cheated. It really is not a great ending to a movie. I really felt like they could have wrapped this up a lot better. And obviously, I really can't tell you why I disliked it the way I did because that'd be going into spoiler territory. But like I said, it does feel like a poor and cheated ending. So don't go into this movie knowing that everything wraps up really well because unfortunately it doesn't. The film also breaks its own rules a lot. There's just a lot of times in this movie where characters are always constantly saying, "Oh, well, we can't do this and we can't do this, and that would violate this, and this certain thing isn't programmed to do this." But by the end of the movie, I feel like they completely dropped that rule and just did whatever they had to for the service of the plot. There's just a lot of rule breaking this film does, especially in the third act. So once again, really picking on that ending. It really is not a great ending to a movie. It just breaks its own rules a lot, and it just really is not a good ending to a movie. I also felt like Sigourney Weaver's role in the film could have been bigger. She's this big CEO of this big company that makes these police department robots. And unfortunately, we really don't see her a lot throughout the course of the film. There's times where she'll pop up, or Hugh Jackman or the Dev Patel character will come up and get an opinion from her on something. But we really don't see her a lot in this movie to the point where we really don't know how we feel about her, and we really don't get to learn a lot about her. And I think that's really too bad because she's this big CEO of this big company that the lead character of the film works for, and she's connected to the villainous character that Hugh Jackman plays. And I don't know, I really felt like they could have done something bigger with her. And this isn't the first time they've done this to Sigourney Weaver. They also did this recently in Exodus Gods and Kings, where Ridley Scott barely did anything with her. And unfortunately, it's the same kind of position here. She really isn't utilized enough as much as you wish she would. And, for a big name actress like Sigourney Weaver, you would really wish that they gave her something bigger to do in this movie. But overall, I'm going to give Chappie an 8 out of 10. I think it's a good film. If you like Neill Blomkamp, it is worth checking out. But go into it knowing it's not his best film. And if you're just going into it just to, out of personal interest of seeing it, this might be a Redbox rental. But like I said, if you like Neill Blomkamp, it's worth checking out. If you haven't seen any of Neill Blomkamp's stuff and you just want to see this out of interest, you could probably wait to the Redbox rental. It really is not quite that urgent of a classic, I guess, in regards to that kind of stuff. So Chappie, 8 out of 10 for me. I think it's a good film, but not a great film. It's a good film that suffers from quite a bit of flaws. So, good movie, not a great movie. Feel free to see Chappie if you're a Neill Blomkamp fan.